Hey there, guys. So I was totally going to make this a spooky ball episode, but that means plugging into my USB port some kind of like one of these, like I call it a Tesla ball, these things. This is what I would do, but when I tried it a minute ago, my mouse went crazy. It turned into like a Mickey Mouse hand and wouldn't let go, and I couldn't make anything happen. I had to figure out what keys to hit to finally make the computer reboot, and after all that, it's like I'm spooked, and I just saw the Joker. Like I just came back from the Baghdad, and I just watched this. I wasn't going to. Like New York Times got into my brain somehow and told me it wasn't worth seeing. But then my architect friend John Driscoll said it was great, so I was like, oh, he'd see it again with me. So I didn't make him do that, but I did see it. I saw it by myself with a hammerhead, which I pretty much. Anyway, so there's that. There's that movie. And I also want to talk about, strangely enough, you're never going to guess unless you've already watched this video. Let's go to my history here. I want to talk about Marshall McLuhan. Why? Because I always heard about him a lot growing up. Also, this Batman movie is not a Batman movie. So this movie called The Joker, it establishes a character called the Joker and overlaps with the DC comic characters. So yes, it's in that world of Gotham, but it's its own world of Gotham, and you have to just take it on its own terms. And it's a world I recognize very well. It's like, oh yeah, like I felt very much in the Matrix with that movie. Um, it does a good job of making Gotham and with the TV and everything. So, and the hospitals and the elevators and the apartment buildings. It's very bleak, but I feel somewhat familiar with it. It wasn't unfamiliar, just bleak, right? Okay, so Marshall McLuhan. Now, I wish he was around because he is very probing and thoughtful. He co appears with Bucky Fuller, he admires Bucky Fuller. And I heard of him independently, Marshall McLuhan. Like, I didn't come to McLuhan through Bucky, I'm saying. But I didn't really read a lot of his stuff either, actually. And now, in my quote unquote dotage, right? I'm in my 60s here. I got YouTube, and I can go back and not just read these things, which is good. I do like to read, but I can watch all these marvelous movies, all these YouTubes that are piling up, interviews with Marshall McLuhan, all this kind of stuff. You know, math movies, politics, comedy. It's great stuff. And if you're not burning fossil fuels and you're just burning a few joules doing this, I feel like we should give people this lifestyle. Call it being a student, right? Just have a cave. I'm not saying don't go out. And yeah, I added a comment on this troll farm one. I sometimes comment on YouTube's, not very often, but sometimes. I've been lately, if you've been watching my YouTubes, what have I been doing? I've been sort of walking in the area of philosophers, talking heads like Richard Rorty, and representationalism and correspondence theory of meaning, those kind of things. And how did Wittgenstein impact that? That's a very, very long and old discussion. Nothing new there, I could say. But the link up with Wittgenstein and Bucky Fuller, that has proved fruitful as a foundations of mathematics type investigation. So there's something new there. There is novelty in this channel. I think you'll find that if you do some searching. But I don't have it all nicely collated at this point, so you just have to poke around. I'm not going to tell you to see the Joker or not see the Joker. It's not like that. I tell you what to do, just that I did. And the Baghdad was a great place to see it. It's a very good theater. I wonder what McLuhan would say. Here's my final question, maybe spark some dialogue out there. He makes a big distinction, Marshall does, between the film medium and the television medium. But now everybody has home box office and they watch movies on their televisions. And yeah, it's a different experience. And but what is it? What is it about uh, the movie world and the TV world and the internet world are not that distinct anymore with Netflix and streaming and everything. We kind of just live in screen world, right? So I wonder how McLuhan by this time would have updated his vocabulary and thinking and so on. People don't have to stay the same. If we kind of freeze them because their life is done and they don't have further say, it can look like they were narrow-minded or something, or that they were. See, they just didn't have the hindsight we do. So you have to realize that that Batman movie, I keep calling it that, really was kind of a wake-up call because it's a time when I was very much alive, and I remember where the movie's set time-wise. I remember growing up and watching movies set in like the 40s and 30s, and I'm like, wow, that's really old. I've never lived through that. That's like all these old people around me lived through that, but I never did. And now I have those same thoughts about like the 70s or whatever that Batman film was, Joker was set, right? It's not made back then. It's a contemporary film deliberately set in that time, which is recent past that I lived through is what I'm saying. So now I get to be the old movie guy. I'm the guy who lived in those old movie days. Gotham, right? Cool. All right, talk to you later.